Hey folks, this is Maria Abreu. Welcome to my channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you enjoy the content of the video, remember to hit like and feel free to share. Immigration, right? I wanted to do a recording to address a tendency that's of concern, okay? Now, we all know that, in an expat community, sharing each other's experience, talking about what you went through. In fact, I just did an extensive, video about my experience a couple of days ago. Sharing information and trying to help each other through processes and trying to shed light onto what people need to do so that they could accomplish their goals faster in an easier way. That's important, and we realize the value of expats forming a community and sharing information, but there is a danger with that, okay? Sometimes, just because, first of all, let me just say this. No two cases are ever the same. Immigration cases are similar in that they all have to go through the same process, but the particulars of every case are very different. So what one expat goes through as far as their residency process is not exactly what another expat is going to go through in theirs. You understand? There could be elements that can affect one case, that did not affect another. So I hear all the time, well, when I did the process, this is how it was. I didn't have to go through that. Well, that didn't happen in my case, and you get that. So you have expats that just because they've gone through the process, all of a sudden, I'm just going to say it because I'm very transparent and I'm very clear, all of a sudden they're experts. And so they want to, tell everybody else, this is how it is because this is what I went through. First of all, that's not accurate. As I've said on many, many occasions, in other videos, in fact, immigration is ever changing. What applies today may not apply a month from now. In fact, those of us who are experts in the field, okay, the Lawyers Association specializing in immigration matters, ASOMIGRA for short, we actually have a WhatsApp chat where we keep each other up to date with week-to-week changes. I kid you not, okay? In fact, I did a video back in October wherein we talked about, a resolution that had just come out. And about 3 weeks ago, I did another video about a resolution that came out in January to replace the one that had, come out in October. So do you see what I'm saying, folks? It's ever changing, and people need to realize that, okay? On top of the fact that every case is different. And I want to share something with you. The most traumatic change that I have seen take place in immigration since I started practicing. Okay, and I touched on this point in the video that I did a couple of days ago. I'm taking you back 10 years. It used to be the case, like when I came to the country, that in order to apply for residency, you can just come with your documents and interpose an application with the immigration department, and that was it. You didn't have to. You didn't have to apply for a visa. You didn't need to do any of that. You could just come to the country. You can get a file ready. If you had no solvency, which most people didn't, You get yourself a Dominican resident or a Dominican citizen to be your guarantor with the title of a vehicle, 10 years old, and that would do it. It was that easy. Okay. Uh, and then you also had the situation where most people were living here as tourists for decades. I kid you not. They would just go to the airport. They would get, I remember there were these long pink slips, and they would just pay like 2,500 Dominican pesos to extend that for like 4, sometimes 6 months. I even saw one from 9 months. Don't ask me how that's possible. But I even saw one years ago. And so with that, they could do anything. They could bank, they could just live here, have businesses. Forget it. I mean, it was nobody even worried about residency. So many people were here without status. Now, 10 years ago, a director comes in and says, that's not how it's supposed to work. We have to regulate the situation because, not having, strict immigration guidelines allows for just anybody to come to the country. And so we can't offer pensioners or, investors a safe country to come to if they wanted to relocate. So that's about to stop. And that's exactly what this man, I remember he introduced a resolution wherein the requirement for a visa came into effect. Now, mind you, the visa process was already in the law. It has always been the law that those coming to apply for residency had to come with a visa, but it wasn't enforced. For decades, it wasn't enforced. One fine day, he puts that resolution into it, he brings it forth, okay? He puts it into effect, and now all of a sudden, anybody who wants to apply for residency had to first apply for a residence visa in the Dominican consulate in their country of origin. You guys have no idea the mayhem that followed. You had people who were living here who had not been to their country for years and years. They had nothing there. So they were like, I'm going to go back to do what? What am I going to do there? And then on top of that, and I mentioned this in the previous video that I did. So when this rule comes out, um, we contact the consulate because, of course, we have to apply for a visa. How are we going to do it? What's the format? How we handling this? So the consulate says to us, I'm sorry, counselor, a visa is not required in order to apply for residency. Can you even imagine? Could you imagine that a rule is already effect in immigration that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has no idea about? So we were like, yes, it is. This is a new regulation. It's now necessary. They're turning people away. Wait. We need to look into this. So we actually had to wait for the council. I remember it was the consulate in New York to confirm all of this to then start dealing with us. Now, can you imagine how unprepared they were if, they didn't even know this was happening? So they had to dust off the visa law 875 that regulates the consulates via the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They had to put this into some kind of context. How were the applications going to be done? What are the categories? What were going to be the documents? What would be the cost of a visa? This process was not existent. It wasn't being used. So I cannot tell you guys, make a long story short, the mayhem that took place for the following 2 years until all of this was organized and put into a system, okay? It was just insane. And that change came out of nowhere, but it was already in the law. So what are we saying here? There are many things that immigration is not enforcing, but they can at any given moment. So, legalizing your status is the smart thing to do. And I'll give you an example earlier today. I have this client We talked about, you know, uh, whether people that overstay will be let back into the country. I just got a call earlier today. Client of mine has this habit of overstaying, uh, left the country, paid the overstay fee. He tried to come back in today and was not allowed. So this is this, and I said, you know what? Go back and get a return ticket. Okay, so as to show them that you have the intention to return. So you never know at what point immigration is going to wake up and want to enforce the laws that already exist. You understand? And it's ever changing. So no one can say, no, that's not the case. This is not accurate. This is how it goes. This is how it goes now. You don't know what's going to happen from here to a week, a month, a year. And as I said before, every director comes in with their own vision of what immigration should how immigration should run. So the best thing to do, folks, first of all, those who have legal status never have to worry about what changes take place because they're already within the confines of what the law establishes. But for those of you who are not there yet, try to keep up with the changes. This is what this channel is about. We try to keep you up to date with all of the changes that take place so that you're not taken by surprise, okay? So that you're aware of either what's coming or you're aware of what the future intention of the authorities is, and you can prepare for it, okay? So I hope this was helpful because, as I said, it's great that, foreigners want to help each other, expats want to, provide feedback and input, but just be careful what you're promoting as fact, okay? Because you may be giving outdated information, all right? Okay, guys, well, that's my 2 cents, and I hope I hope it was helpful. And contact us if you have any questions, and we will see you next time.